welcome to another episode of the SD4L show. I'm Justin Thin. I'm here with my co-host Matt Sheehan. Matt, how are you doing today? You are burning in the laundry room down in Florida once again.
Welting, that's a nice start to this show. Melting like a wax museum figure in a sauna, man. Dude, this is a beautiful house we were staying in, but this laundry room did not get the air conditioning care that I need, but it's the room with the best acoustics and the best space. So here I am again, just trying to make it to minute number 5 of this episode because it's got to be 102 degrees where I'm at right now. So
right,
it'd be like that sometimes.
Last time we didn't get the content juice of you kind of having a heat stroke in the middle of the show.
I let everyone down.
Fingers crossed.
I know. I truly let everyone down by not just kicking the bucket here live on camera. But hey, folks, it's another week. That's right. It's another lottery ticket. Today could be the day that you see someone perish somewhat live on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll see how this goes.
We'll have to make sure to check the box of not for kids on this video. If that
it's fine. So the shirt is starting off like a nice mint green here. This is going to be like a dark Michigan State green by the end of the show, I reckon. So here we are, Justin. But JT, my man, how are you doing over there? We doing okay?
I'm good, man. The Sixers beat the fraud allegations moments ago here, even though they tried their absolute hardest to not do that. Brutal first half. But, you know, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish.
I had a whopping $6.50 on them to cover 5.5, so I'll be invoicing you after the show.
Good.
Actually,
Sounds good.
But until then, we got some Michigan State stuff to talk about, I guess, don't we?
We do indeed. It is picking up activity level in the transfer portal. It is set to keep increasing here as the days go on. A lot of kids entered yesterday. Some kids entered today. Offers are going out. And then as more and more spring games and spring camps wrap up this weekend, you'll see a lot more kids enter the portal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, depending on when their schools get the paperwork in. Gotcha. They have 48 hours to do once they tell admission. So, yeah, should be a busy week or so here as MSU keeps diving into the tape, doing background evaluations on kids character-wise, sending out offers, scheduling visits. So, should be entertaining.
No doubt. And something that we've talked about going into the spring transfer portal window, even long before this thing opened on Tuesday, is, okay, what are the needs still for this team? And we played the hits, JT. I think our needs are the same as a lot of other fans out there, a lot of other media members are saying, but defensive secondary, of course, you can never have enough help in the pass rush. And then wide receiver, too. Two of those positions, obviously, they tried, right? Tony Grimes at cornerback, TJ Sheffield at wide receiver. That fell apart. But we got some visitors coming up here that kind of second what we and many others are saying, that, like, yes, they want to hit those core 3 positions. Where do you want to start, JT? Because it's not just one position that's getting some visitors here pretty soon here.
Let's start with the edge visitor coming up on campus on Monday. That is Anthony Jones from Indiana through the way of Oregon. He signed with the Ducks out of high school. Redshirted his first year there. Demetrius Martin, who is now MSU's one of MSU's DB's coaches, they crossed paths for a year there. Then he transferred to Indiana, where Rush ends coach for Michigan State, Chad Wilt, who was the defensive ends coach there.
Yep.
And then when Chad Wilt came to Michigan State, Jones stayed there another semester, and then entered the portal after that. Actually, no, his end of 30 days just happened to be after the portal closed. So he didn't stay a whole extra semester, but he didn't enter during the actual winter portal. So he's been in there for a while. But yeah, so doesn't have a lot of stats. He does have 5 tackles in a game against Penn State as a redshirt freshman. So to me already, I'm thinking like, hey, 5 tackles against Penn State as a redshirt freshman, you can probably play. Probably not going to start, but you're in the rotation. And they don't have a lot of guys at rush end. So it seems like Jalen Thompson, I heard, has been repping there. And behind him, you don't really know. I guess maybe by Job.
Sure.
And then so you're kind of looking at, all right, let's get some bodies here. Let's get some guys here. And so like I said, not a lot of stats. But the way I look at it is Demetrius Martin, Chad Wilt. Both guys had him. He wasn't a shining star at either place. He was kind of a reserve rotational guy. Yet they both want him again. So those guys must have seen something in him, and I will defer to that over any stats or anything of that nature.
Yeah, because in the spring transfer portal window, you can get shining stars, no doubt, like game changers, but that's kind of more so for the winter portal window. The spring is more supplemental, like patching up holes that you can find somewhere. And look, we feel good about Jalen Thompson. We talked about it last week at the edge rush position. Okay, we're feeling okay there. Of course, you have the young guys, just like you talked about with Bijob and Andrew DePape. But this is a guy, like you said, had 5 tackles against Penn State, played 13 games or I think it was 12 games as a redshirt freshman. Like, he played consistently, so he has the experience. While he's not going to come in here and be a Will Golston right off the bat, like, guys, we just need depth at this point.
Right.
At this point, I know it's not the sexiest conversation right now, but even when it pertains to other positions we're talking about, even cornerback, like, I don't even know if we're going to get a day one start, but we just need depth there,
right.
Bodies behind them, because in football, this is going to shock a lot of people. Players get hurt. And wide receiver, too, the same issue. We're not looking for a wide receiver 1, not a wide receiver 2, but just a wide receiver 3 maybe, just depth somewhere. So this goes hand in hand with a defensive end. If you can get a guy that the coaching staff knows and trusts, I don't think they'd be bringing this guy on for no good reason. Like, surely he will be at worst like an average backup as a redshirt sophomore. And that's what I like, too, is like room to grow with this kid.
Right.
So I like seeing this visit. Sure, like, we're not going to be launching fireworks off at Grand River should he commit, but like any pickup in that position is a solid pickup in my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. You're getting a young kid that has a lot of years left to get better, and he's been vetted in person for a year each by 2 different coaches on your staff. To me, that's kind of a no-brainer, and I'm assuming that wouldn't allocate a lot of resources to him as well. So other than the scholarship that he'd be taking up, which they have a couple right now, but I'm assuming that more guys will probably enter after the spring game. Guys, when they see that they're kind of buried on the depth chart, kind of like Eddie Pleasant did today. And we can talk more about the departures later, but kind of fitting that mold. So I don't think the scholarship crunch should be as much of a worry. They just have to fill the holes that they have depth-wise. And like you said, like corner would be another one. That's where there hasn't really been an offer that's gone out yet, but it's a spot where I think they're actively looking. I know they've been evaluating the whole time. I think Chance Rucker is probably going to be starting on one of the sides. If you can get someone that is even, or I guess worthy of competing with Charles Brantley on the other side, I think that's your dream scenario, is getting someone that's willing, that's able to compete with him. But if it's just a depth guy behind him, then so be it. It gives your younger guys, your Andrew Brinsons, your Jalen Thompsons of the world more time before they have to maybe emerge. So yeah, corner is another place where I know they're evaluating. Another offer at that rush end spot, who he could also just drop down and be a regular traditional defensive end. Jackson Howard from Minnesota, the LSU product, just finished his freshman year at LSU. And he had 60 offers coming out of high school. Like I said, from Minnesota. The old staff recruited him, hosted him on at least one visit in June. I remember when he was a junior. Okay. And so, yeah, he's familiar with the area. He's familiar with the conference. We'll see who gets him. He's probably going to have a good amount of suitors, because all that's changed since he had his 60 offers out of high school is just 1 year buried at a LSU level team's depth chart. So we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, they're hitting the rush end spot very hard. They're evaluating corner. They're going to be looking at offensive line, specifically left tackle. But then again, who in America isn't? So I don't know if they'll get something done there, but they're going to be looking very hard at left tackle as well.
So as we go from one side of the ball to the other side of the ball, wide receiver Javarius Johnson out of Auburn in the transfer portal, not just in the transfer portal, not just getting an offer from Michigan State, but reports have it that he will be visiting Michigan State. Not the only campus he's going to be visiting. He actually already visited Central Florida not too long ago and has Arizona waiting in the base too. Yep. But we were talking before recording here. We blew a lot of our great content right before recording here. But like, this guy has a certain style about him that Jonathan Smith is familiar with at his last stop. You said it before I did. Do you want to take it away here of who this little comp is for here?
The great Silas Bolden, who, if anybody was watching Oregon State games last year, very, very critical part to Jonathan Smith and Brian Lindgren's offense. That kind of gadget slot player. That's what you need in an offense that has like the RPOs and passes behind the line of scrimmage and quick game, quick hitters, and you needing guys that can get open right away, and the quarterback and offensive line, like we don't know necessarily how much protection he's going to have and things of that nature. This is very critical to have a guy like Javarius Johnson. I was talking to his agent right before we started recording, Sean O'Gorman. He said he'll be here from the 25th to the 27th. So Michigan State's going to have a few days there to try to get him locked up. I think they absolutely need to. We'll talk about the other portal wide receiver that they have offered as well, but different styles. But I think this style, Michigan State doesn't really have anyone that fits this mold. You have obviously a guy in Montorie Foster who is more on the lighter side, but I don't think he's a quick release, sudden movement kind of a small receiver. I think he's more of a gut separation down the field kind of a receiver. I don't know how dominant he would be in like an RPO quick slant setting. So I don't think Michigan State really has somebody like this. And then you start going beyond that, Antonio Gates, bigger guy. The only guy that kind of fits this mold on the roster is Alante Brown. And we haven't seen much of him or much from him. And the little we did see last year, it wasn't great. I'm hoping that with the new scheme and with Brian Lindgren that he can take a big step. But why not go ahead and have a guy that has 8 touchdowns and 1,114 yards under his belt from an SEC school and not even have the risk of maybe hoping that Alante Brown is the guy. So I think he's a great target.
Yeah. And I do wonder if this goes outside just the offense too, because it's not a ton. It's not like this guy was returning punts for all 3 years. He has 9 career punt return attempts. But is that enough to like throw his name in the conversation here? Because obviously Tyrell Henry leaves a hole from last year. And yes, Alante Brown does have return experience. But like the more competition you have there, obviously the merrier. I think it's an obvious statement. But like this is just a guy to show you that it's speed with him. Because just like you said, JT, everything in the RPO offense, we can actually run screenplays that work. Like for once, really mix it up on offense, but also in the return game too. So like obviously, as you guys know, speed goes a long way in football. Michigan State's wide receiver room is talented. Like they're fine, but they just don't have this type of kid yet. So that's why I'm going to keep the closest eye, even closer to the guy we just talked about at the rush edge position, on Javarius Johnson.
Yeah. So. And yeah, so like if you start looking at the other receivers that Michigan State has, like Jerron Glover, I think he's a very good contested catch guy, but he's like a balanced receiver.
Yeah,
like he's not a possession receiver. He's not a speed demon. He's a balanced guy. I didn't mean to leave him out last time. I think he could be wide receiver 1 this year.
Sure.
And so it's just a lot of guys that don't have the mold. So now if you start to, because a lot of teams, especially in the NFL, when they draft, they believe that you should draft your wide receiver room kind of like an NBA starting 5. Everyone has a different mold, a different body type, and a different skill set. Yep. Now, when the Eagles tried to do this and they forced the Jalen Reagor pick over Justin Jefferson, that didn't work out at all. So
no,
you still have to find like the best guy that can play receiver and not overthink the variance and the skill set. But in this case, it happens to be both. I think he's one of the best receivers in the portal, and he brings a unique skill set that they don't have here, and that they heavily relied on at Oregon State with the Salas Boldens of the world.
Jalen Reagor has a lot of career left, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Whether that's going to be with the Eagles or not is to be determined. But I have a question for you, JT.
Yes.
It's right in the hot seat right now.
Yes.
Didn't talk about this in pre-production or anything, so here we go. We talked about the 3 position of needs here, right? Yes. Rank them. Like let's say MSU can only get 1 player of any of these positions in the spring transfer portal window. Odds are that won't be the case, but for sake of conversation, let's say they can only get 1. Which one of the 3 between receiver, rush, cornerback are you going to throw at the top there?
Matt, can I go a little out of pocket and say it's not one of those?
Please do. Let's go.
It's left tackle.
Yo.
Number 1.
Wow.
I think, but the thing is I don't know if they're going to be able to get anybody there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an unrealistic pipe dream kind of thing, because you're not just going to be sitting on a franchise left tackle in the portal and you're just going to be able to get them just like that.
Probably not. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's the biggest need. I think if you look at the delta between maybe like a B grade offensive lineman and a B grade receiver, a B grade corner, a B grade rush end, I think Jalen Thompson, I don't know what he's going to do necessarily this year, but like I think he has that in him where he can be like an all-conference third-team guy eventually. So now it's just where is he going to be in his arc this year? So like that's fine. Gotcha. You need depth behind him. Receiver, I think Jerron Glover can be good. I think Montorie Foster is a great route runner. The drops are kind of a concern. But then you also start to look at like, all right, the whole pass catch room as a whole, then Jack Velling is also in the mix. If one of maybe Isaiah Johnson or Jalen Smith take a leap, then you have a wide receiver 4 over there too. Antonio Gates in the mix. So like they have needs, like there's still needs. Like there's no getting around that. That's why they're part of this discussion. Nobody's saying those positions are set. But I think if you could get like a B grade left tackle, I think that's the biggest delta than what they have there right now with Brandon Baldwin.
Okay.
Stanton Ramel is a redshirt freshman this year, and he's coming off of a knee injury.
Right.
He's not going to be ready this year. And other than that, Ashton Lepo, your other young right tackle, he's already in the starting right tackle spot, having kind of risen above Ethan Boyd there. So there's not really a lot there. Rustin Young, he came in, and he's a true freshman right now, and he's probably going to project a right tackle too.
Yeah.
I think left tackle would be the answer there. And we've seen him go and get Tanner Miller, the center from Oregon State, in here. We've seen him get Luke Newman at left guard, who he hasn't enrolled yet. But if they can somehow do the same thing at left tackle, I think that would help them the most. And then after that, I probably would go receiver. And then I think it's a coin flip for the third spot between corner and rush end, because you're kind of in the same spot where you have guys that are competent enough to be starters, but they're not necessarily proven, and you don't have depth. So it's just filling it out from there. But that's kind of how I would rank it.
I like that. God, look at just dynamic podcasting content right there. just going off the board with a strong one right there. I gotta say, and like my explanation is very short, and this is just because maybe I'm just a coward in life, but I almost slide cornerback to the top.
Okay.
Just because of the sheer amount of injuries that we've seen at that position. I mean, it's been a graveyard there the last few years, and look, you are solid with Chance Rucker as the starter.
Right.
You know, Chuck Brantley, a guy with experience there, but behind them, like Chuck Brantley is a guy that he hits as if he's 205 pounds, except he's not. He's roughly about 40 pounds lighter than that and gets hurt a lot. Marquis Lowry, keep talking good about him. We keep hearing great things about him, but like it's all health for these two deep guys.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and God forbid Chance Rucker gets hurt this year. It's like I would like to have experience here. Again, are you going to get a dynamic Sauce Gardner out there? Probably not in the spring transfer portal window as things stand right now. But can you get a junior or a senior that is just looking for more reps elsewhere? I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world. I know that even watching at home, if we watch that player out there, we might get upset with him time and time again, but it could be better than what we have in the young up-and-coming guys, because quite simply put, like, they must not be ready for the college games. So that's why it's like cornerback maybe to the top of my list right there, just because I'm scared. I'm a scared boy. I'm scared of the injuries. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think if they can even get somebody like who they got last year and Terry Roberts, but like like wishy-washy version of him who will actually stick around somewhere. I think that's good enough. Somebody like that.
Who was Michigan State legend? He came here from TCU, and he was committed for about a week before he went to Arkansas. It was started with a K. Last name Stewart, I believe. This is killing me.
Keontae Stewart. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. What? Yeah. Just something like that. But actually, come here after you say that you're going to. Yeah. Good times. But that's just kind of what we're looking for here. Keontae Stewart, TCU, Keon Stewart. That's
it was
right.
Keon Stewart. Different. It had
a Y in there. It was K-E-E'-Y-O-N. So Keon Stewart. Spartan great Keon Stewart.
I made a horrible joke right when he committed that they traded Keon Coleman for Keon Stewart, and then they got neither.
Turns out, they both played the same amount for Michigan State last year. Keon Stewart, MSU great for his performance against Michigan that one time where he caused the most blatant targeting call in the history of college football, and somehow against all odds got away with it. Anyway, we're going way off tangent there. Speaking of guys that will no longer be playing for Michigan State, like the great Keon Stewart, we've had some entries into the transfer portal. None that are the same level as Keon. I almost said Keon Stewart. Keon Coleman, but nevertheless, opens Tuesday. We've heard some guys beforehand, but now it's just official. But two latest entries: Eddie Pleasant, Braden Miller. And then, of course, Mana Teote and then Jalen Barberin were the guys that announced ahead of time. But now that the window's open, they can officially do it. So we'll riff on that here for a little bit, JT.
Yeah, I think Mana Teote was kind of writing on the wall. He hadn't really seen the field in all the years he's been here. Seemed like a good dude, always kept his head down, kept working. Just the physical limitations, the athleticism, it just wasn't there for the Power 4 level. But hey, you give him credit. He came here, he tried to fight for a spot. He tried to make it at this level despite kind of having those limitations. It didn't work out, but he was a good student and he was good in the weight room. So he should now be able to be eligible wherever, and he should be able to go to a level where it's more so his level of athleticism around him. And I think he'll do a fine job there. Braden Miller, kind of surprising there because I knew he wasn't going to start. And these days he wasn't necessarily a pure right tackle. He wasn't a pure inside guy. He was more of a swing guy that was kind of blocked at right tackle by Lepo, blocked at right guard by Gino Vandermark. Probably wasn't going to be the top backup at right guard. Probably wasn't going to top backup at right tackle. But the versatility of both spots, you're looking at maybe if there's a couple injuries, he can get on the field. He's still, I think, was just going to be a redshirt sophomore this year. So, you'd think, maybe he'd stick around 2 more years. Maybe he can grad transfer if he still isn't in the 2D. But I guess he had different plans, and that makes sense. I was high on him as a prospect just because of the way he moved. But what I don't know is once he added the weight that he needed to add, whether he kept those movements. I don't. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But the fact that he wasn't kind of in that too deep at either of his spots kind of tells me that maybe he wasn't going to end up panning out to be what I hoped he was going to be. So those two make sense from those perspectives. And then Jalen Barberin, again, that was one of those things where you gotta take somebody when you're late in that cycle and you're that staff. But other than very impressive straight line speed, people can go back when he committed. You never heard me say that he can make anybody miss left and right. He didn't break tackles. Despite his speed, he wasn't really somebody they motioned out to the slot in high school and sent out there in gadget kind of ways. Right. He just was very, very fast on the track, and that's it. And the new coaches that kind of got here, they kind of took stock of the running back room, and they got 2 running backs in the 2024 class coming in. So it was pretty clear for him where he stood, and it made sense on that departure from that front. And then who am I missing, Matt? Because there was 4.
Eddie Pleasant? What was Eddie it Pleasant?
Yeah, the most recent one. Yep. So yeah, Eddie Pleasant is at a position where there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of bodies, unproven bodies. But last year, I believe we saw Ade Wiley that he saw the field in the Minnesota game. And then Jalen Thompson, also a 2023 kid coming in. Yep. You have a lot of guys that I would probably say are ahead of him. And then we didn't even talk about Akari Crump, who's been hanging around here for a while. He saw game action. And then if Marquis Lowry is healthy, those are all reserve rotational guys. And then there's the starting group of Chance Rucker and maybe Brantley, or if they get a portal guy. So he was significantly buried. Didn't even see the field last year as a true freshman, even in the 4 max allowable games. So it makes sense from his perspective. When he was a recruit, the thing I liked most about him was his physicality and his willingness to tackle. But he would have needed to have added other tools once he got to campus. So again, don't know if he did or didn't, but where he was kind of on the tentative depth chart kind of tells me that he probably didn't just yet. And maybe he wants to go close to home and see if he can develop there.
Yeah, Jalen Barber was just going to be the one that was fascinating to me because just like you said, straight line speed, he was the fastest commit in that class. Not just one of the fast. No. The fastest kid, record setter, sprinter.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, just like you kind of alluded to, there was a reason that a guy that fast that can run like a cheetah was only a 3-star. And I think it was on this show, or maybe it's that other show that I do. But we were talking maybe you try him at slot receiver. We'll give it a shot. But then again, like even at his high school tape, what's something that you've never really saw? Right. Him catching the ball. So I hope he finds a great home. Rooting for the kid. I hope that he has an electric college career. But yeah, God, what fun. What fun just to think about, like, hey, this guy can run an 8'2", 100-yard meter dash. Like, let's just see, but we're not going to see that come to fruition, whether it's the return game, whether it's a little gadget running back, slot receiver, or what have you. But yeah, again, none of the Keon Coleman level departures. But with that said, obviously we're still rooting for them, and see them land on their feet somehow. We're not monsters over here. I mean, this is just the game here. JT, I do want to throw you on the hot seat though.
Yes.
Because Bud Elliott of the Cover 3 podcast, I'm going to do like a short watered down version of this. They're talking about the portal. Hey, spring game. After those wrap up for a lot of colleges, you're going to be seeing maybe some starters get out there. Okay. Defensive tackle, namely one of them, is what they were talking about. And then, well, the co-host kind of picked and prodded, being like, well, let's name names. What are you talking about? Michigan State was specifically named by Bud Elliott. Of like, hey, this is a school that should worry about their defensive tackles being poached by an SEC team. Like, should I not be sleeping tonight, JT? What's going on here?
So what the original rumor I heard in March, it was that Simeon Barrow was getting poached by, or like getting kind of pursued by schools down south. I heard Florida State like very directly. And I know Bud's a Florida State guy. I don't know the SEC necessarily, but Florida State was pursuing hard. And that was in late March. And then several days ago, it sounded like there's not really any concern there for Michigan State side anymore. So that should be taken care of. Bud's intel was probably right. It was just from a few weeks ago. And I saw that he came on the Spartan Tailgate Shaw Lane VIP board earlier today to kind of talk about that a little bit. Gotcha. And he said that like Pittsburgh, they had a defensive lineman enter who they thought they had kind of scored away and had given a raise to, and he still entered a couple days later. So like, don't count your chickens yet. And that's true. In the portal, you can never be sure. But from what I had heard from late March until a few days ago is that was a real rumor, but it should be good now. Michigan State won out against Oregon and Ohio State for Derek Harmon.
Yeah.
They beat out USC for Aiden Childs twice. They beat Washington for Jack Velling, a few other guys. They kept guys that were entering the portal. Gino Vandermark was essentially silently committed to Oklahoma when he was in the portal. They got him back. These things don't happen if you don't have the resources to fend these things off. Michigan State obviously lost Keon Coleman to Florida State. But other than that, like this has not really happened to them. You can say what you want about like teams up north, not just Michigan State, but all the teams up north, except maybe Ohio State, just not willing to pay for high school kids at a great scale. Mm-hmm. And that's true. That's fair. The ROI and just the hit rate is just not there. But like, portal resources are a little different, and I think Michigan State's in good shape there. They were in good shape 2 cycles ago. They were in good shape even back like when they got Kenneth Walker, and then they were good when they got Jacoby Windman. And then you're kind of looking at the same thing here, like that. They didn't get all those guys in January just because they knew Coach Smith. And the new collective sounds like it's doing a great job so far, so we'll keep monitoring that. But I don't know. I don't think there's much to be worried about there.
Okay, I'll add a few minutes to my sleep schedule then. I mean, obviously,
up to 4 hours and 10 minutes.
And on a good night, but yeah, obviously, I just get nervous at like the very smallest things in life. But you are probably 53 times more plugged in than I am, and even I heard that Florida State was kind of fancying themselves one Simeon Barrow. So we got to keep our secrets better. Seminole Nation, like Jesus Christ, like tighten things up down there. My God, if a schmuck like me is understanding what's going on, like, yeah, goodness gracious, what's going on here?
That are just horrible at keeping secrets. Like,
sure,
I shouldn't even be. There's guys from schools that like I don't like. I'm talking about. I know a Pac-12 team that's chasing a shooting guard on a Big 12 team. these things I should not know.
Yeah,
and I should not
cross
know
time zones
level that I know. Just
no,
yeah,
100%. Speaking of basketball, do you want to switch to the basketball court here to wrap this up, or do you got any more football things you want to riff on?
No, I think now is a good time to switch to basketball.
I'll add one thing. Hey, spring game coming up this Saturday. 3 things I'm looking for: no injuries, lack of injuries, and I'd like to get out of this with no injuries. You know what? I'll throw in a 4th thing. I want to see Aiden Childs launch a ball 70 yards. That's all that I got before going to basketball here. But yeah, it'll be fun. Hey, go out to Spartan Stadium on Saturday. It's free. It's family friendly. It's a good time. Never cloudy day in East Lansing, so that's what I got there. But
it'll be better weather than 2 years ago.
That's is that what year was that?
That was when Ruben Owens was standing on the sideline, 5-star running back Ruben Owens, with a heavy jacket and a hood pulled over his eyes. And the whole spring game, he did not look at the field; he looked at the ground because he was so cold.
I forgot if it was you that sent the picture, like where I saw that picture, but like it looked like he was doing an expedition to Mount Everest. Like it just did not feel great about the recruitment after that came to light, but nevertheless, yeah, hopefully, because there was one, maybe it was 3 years ago, but it was like 80 degrees and sunny. Like people were leaving that thing looking like lobsters. It was great, sunburns everywhere. What is the hot topic to talk about in basketball? Are we just going to be waiting until late August for Frankie Fidler to make his decision? Is there actual smoke around Trey Townsend visiting on Tuesday? Can we confirm those reports? Or like, JT, this is what I do best on the show, but like just take the wheel here and take it away. Yeah. Like, well, what is the hot story in the streets right now for hoops?
Right. So I'm not willing to confirm the Trey Townsend visit until at least this weekend, if not after that.
Okay.
There's moving parts there. I heard about that early Tuesday morning, this morning.
Gotcha.
And then it was kind of presented to me as this could happen, but it's not like scheduled. Like it's not in ink. It's not in a calendar. There's not firm visit plans. But like if he were to visit, Tuesday is the day that the aim would be for. And then we're going to wait and see if we are going to kind of go through with it. So that's kind of how that was presented to me. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I'm also not saying that I'm going to be putting like a graphic together or anything about his visit coming together just yet. Frankie Fidler, obviously the hot name, visited Michigan State from Wednesday night to Friday this past week. Had a great visit, had as good of a visit as Michigan State could have hoped for. As a result, he did not announce Monday morning. Now, that was something that really was never reconfirmed. I know the radio host that he was going to announce with did say that earlier in his process.
Yeah.
But then I was kind of sitting there on like Friday and Saturday just like thinking, but that's the only piece of information everyone keeps passing around in a circle. Like there's not anybody still like saying, yes, that plan is on. Yes, he's committing Monday. It was just the guy said this a week ago. And then we all, even including myself, when I tweeted he arrived in East Lansing for his visit, I even said expected to commit Monday. Like, why are we all saying this just because of a 1 week old projected timeline?
That's great marketing from that radio station. I gotta say, like, people got to do that more.
Right.
Dang.
So then I poked around, and then sounded like on Sunday night that nobody was really expecting him to commit on Monday. I posted that on the VIP board. And then I saw Monday morning that somebody from Wisconsin had talked to the radio station, and they had said that he's not committing. And that's when I kind of tweeted about it. But yes, that was good news for Michigan State. I think no matter how you look at it, Wisconsin, here they are leading for at least a week, if not longer. I would say they were tied first with Nebraska early on when he first entered, before Nebraska kind of faded away there. And their 2.5 week lead was at least wiped down to the point where he could no longer decide on Monday, if not kind of them falling to second place. So Michigan State is the team trending there right now. Now they just have to hold on until he announces his commitment. I was told when he delayed that it wasn't just a 1 or 2 day delay. It was a multi-day delay, but it's not a multi-week delay. So like anywhere like maybe in the 5 to 7, 8 day delay from when he was originally supposed to announce. So I'm hoping it's still here in the next week or so, maybe at the latest, the early part of next week, but you're not going to be following this into May, I don't think.
All right. So by Memorial Day is when we can expect a decision. I'll take that. It's strong.
Sounds good.
It's not too shabby. Other than that, like obviously pretty quiet around the basketball front. We've already beaten that horse into oblivion, the strategy and everything like that. But I mean, if you want to go off on a tangent, attend the show, because when don't we? Like, this is part of our contract. We must talk about something that is not even tangibly connected to Michigan State sports, but most outrageous part of the Jontay Porter story, JT.
Easy. This is easy.
Okay, go. Let's go.
The fact that his net winnings are $21,000. You're risking a NBA career where over the whole span, even if he just makes his current base salary of $2 million, and let's say you take half of it out for taxes and agent fees and all this.
Yeah.
Let's say he plays 7 years, right? That's $7 million that he's thrown away to make $21,000.
Yeah.
And listen, if you're going to bet, I get like you can't. It will look suspicious, Matt, if you're betting $700,000 on Jontay Porter's under on points, right? Like I get that, but you have to find a way to gamble in a smarter way that you have not sacrificed your NBA career for $21,000 in net winnings. I don't know how. I'll get out an Excel document in a little bit and figure out like maybe like what the best way to have done this was. But that is absolute insanity to me. Like,
no, it's nuts.
I'm not even talking about the ethics part of this. Like he was betting on the Raptors to lose games, which like that
doesn't even bother me.
Well, that's true, because that just means he's a smart guy. But like still, like every other storyline you hear about betting, right? It's like, all right, like Jameson Williams didn't actually bet on anything that was throwing games, like he was just doing it in a hotel, or Calvin Ridley was like betting on like non-Jaguars games, right? And like stuff like that.
Sure.
This guy was betting on his team to lose games. So like that's jarring to an extent, even though like as you should, because you can't be betting on them to win games. They need to be way less than 21,000 in net winnings. Right. But like, let me ask you, Matt, if you were to bet on yourself and you were in the NBA, what prop would you bet on? And why?
Oh man, it's going to be an under. I'll tell you that. It's It's got the easiest one. Well, like it'd be under 3-pointers made, right? Because like you can skirt around. Like no one's forcing you to shoot 3-pointers. Like you can have a game and camouflage it as like, this is just a scouting report. Lawn twos, the old Michigan State way, and because I mean, not to bring it back to Jontay immediately, but there was that clip that kind of surfs around Twitter, and maybe only 16 people watching this will even remember, but he banked in a 3-pointer and he jogged the other end of the court with a look on his face that was like the same look that you get on your face when you realize that, oh crap, the oven is still on back at home. Like it was truly like a face. So just don't shoot threes. Like that seems to be pretty. That's
a very easy. Good one. I think what the best way to do it, I think, would be like maybe coupling it with like an over, but like way like taking the alt over. So like what I would do is I would maybe take the under on points or threes, one of those two, same kind of concept, but then the over on like rebounds. But like
4 rebounds.
Right, exactly. Like if my over under on rebounds that game is like 5.5, I'll take over 4 rebounds, and I'll give maximum effort on the offensive glass so it doesn't look like I'm throwing games. Defensive glass. And then on offense, I'll just be over distributing. I'm not going to be missing not getting airballing stuff. I'm not going to be throwing it out of bounds, but I'm going to be more of a Chris Paul type of a performance that day than maybe a James Harden in his prime kind of performance. So like, I feel like, and then plus you're parlaying those two. I got the odds on the rebounds are going to be low, but like you can put more money on it. The return's going to be higher. You're not ending up at 21,000 no matter how you do it.
And throw the cent off just a little bit. Yeah. Like, so for me, it's crazy that, and I don't know if I'm in the minority or if most people feel like this, but it comes out that he bet on his own team to lose games. That is so insanely damning. But I said, like, the rest of this is so crazy that like it's not even in the top 3 for me of just craziest things about this story. Because for me, the most just outrageous portion of this is his presumed friend or guy that he knew that bet $80,000 on a parlay full of Jontay Porter unders that would have paid $1.1 million. Like, look, I don't claim to know everything about gambling, but I do know that will not work. Like, you don't think that every alarm bell in Vegas isn't ringing the second The second someone puts a parlay in for unders, not just for any player, but for Jontay Porter, I can't even believe a book is offering that, first of all. Second of all, the fact that you think you get away with that. Like,
did that parlay hit?
Yes, it did, but the sportsbook did not pay it. The sportsbook did not pay it. And, like, I know, because crazy enough, they thought that something fishy was going on when someone dropped 80 stacks on Jontay Porter under. So that's just the craziest part to me. It's like, and this is like a joke that's thrown around to like many group chats out at this point, but the NBA didn't suspend him because he gambled against his own team. They suspended him because he insulted the NBA's intelligence by thinking that they could just get away with all this. How did they possibly think this was going to work? Like, this wasn't even like high-level snooping for these agencies that track this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
This was shooting fish in a barrel for these guys. Jontay.
It's very similar to the Alabama baseball, or I think it was Alabama baseball.
Oh, dude, bro. Yeah, Alabama, LSU. Yeah, right.
Somebody in, like, suburban Ohio was putting, like, hundreds of $1,000s on college baseball games. Yes. And I think they checked just the surveillance, and they're like, all right, well, this guy's placing, he's always on the phone all the time.
And they could read his text. They could read his text on the phone because it was blown up. And, so I think he tried to make that bet at, like, a ballpark, like a sports book at a ballpark. A place that usually I'm sure takes like $50 bets, $100 bets. Not some crazy guy coming up to you saying, hey, college baseball would like to drop 6 figures on this. It's like, if you're going to con the system, let's just try to be a little smart here.
I agree. I agree.
I'm not imploring people to do it, but if you are going to do it, let's think for 5 seconds about the best way to go about this.
I am imploring people to do it. If it specifically is against Fanatics, because Matt, Fanatics has a sports book. They bought points bet. Now I've only bought one thing from Fanatics, and I've had to return it. Quality was horrible, but like people are buying MLB jerseys, all this stuff, see through. They're ripping. So now my new mission for the upcoming year, because I don't really bet in the months from I guess after the NBA playoffs end until the college football starts. Other than like futures for those sports. I will be coming so hard after the Fanatics empire. I'm a big fan of Michael Rubin, the CEO. He's a Sixers guy, was a former Sixers owner. He's done a lot for the Sixers. But, Matt, as someone that is for the common folk, as someone that is for toppling empires, I am going to be bankrupting Fanatics Sportsbook this upcoming fall, and I implore any and everyone to join me.
We just need to find our next Jontay Porter. That's easy.
Is true. This is true.
That's simple.
He has a brother.
Michael
Porter Jr.
Maggot Porter Jr. That's right. There we go. We are going to be cooking in the lab here. Yeah, no, we'll just make sure that they're not a Spartan, whoever we anoint as our ringer of the year coming up.
We will get Franz Wagner to be part of our criminal ring.
Now we're talking. Now we're getting somewhere. There we go. Easy as that. Bada boom, bada bang.
Three games ago, or I guess a week ago, I bet on the over for D'Angelo Russell. And this man got outscored by, you will never guess whose name I'm about to say.
You're right, I won't guess.
Xavier Simpson. Yes. On the Memphis Grizzlies, who are missing 13 players, they promoted Xavier Simpson from like the bench of their G League team. And he had 4 points. And D'Angelo Russell, well, I guess he didn't get outscored because he had also 4 points. His line was to have 13.5 points that game. I took 12 plus, and this man had 4. And then yesterday he couldn't miss a shot. So anyway.
Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. So
just speaking of Duncan Robinson and Franz Wagner, I just recalled Xavier Simpson, and then I recalled how I was robbed of money by D'Lo. So I think that ends it for the show.
With that said, if you're a professional athlete that is looking to muddy the waters and get into illegal gambling and point shaving, match fixing, comment below on YouTube.
Yes.
Rate,
yes.
Review,
don't
subscribe.
The DM or anything private, just right on YouTube.
Government name, we'll delete it once we see the comment. It's fine.
Social security right under it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so other than those candidates from the pro ranks that'll be commenting, make sure you as a listener, as a subscriber are also commenting. Make sure you're liking. And we appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you during next week's episode of the SD for All Show. See ya.